Vancouver broiling amid a historic heat wave. The average daily high temperature here for June and July, a balmy 21 degrees Celsius. In recent days, that's been more than doubled, with nearby Lytton breaking Canada's all-time national temperature record at 49.5 degrees Celsius. Western Canada is being baked under what's known as a heat dome that has already caused hundreds of deaths. Good evening, everyone. We begin on this Canada Day with a catastrophic fire that has virtually obliterated the village of Lytton BC, the same community that earlier this week set an all-time heat record in this country. Flames and smoke chased away more than 1,000 people from their homes with just minutes to spare. Some are still unaccounted for. 90% of the structures are destroyed.
Alright everyone, we're back at it again. So we're gonna try our road trip on British Columbia's historic Cariboo Road. So yeah, due to the wildfire a couple weeks ago, so part of the Highway 1, which goes along the historic Cariboo Road, was shut due to the wildfire. But now, according to the news, everything is up and open again. We're gonna finish what we couldn't finish last time. And yeah, also it turns out if they're indeed open like what the news say, that means that I will definitely be one of the first people to go back to Lytton and see the aftermath of the wildfire. Yeah, so fingers crossed, and we'll see you on the road.
2 hours later.
So right now I'm in Yale, British Columbia. So Yale is the starting point of the Cariboo Gold Rush Trail. So historically there were actually more than one Caribou trails that started in Yale. It's just one of them. And the reason why we picked this one is because this one, well, first is the longest, and second, it's the most action-packed, and you're gonna see very interesting stuff if you choose the Yale Caribou Trail. Yeah, by the way, it's not Caribou Trail, it's the Cariboo Road.
By the Fraser River, there is a plaque installed by the Government of Canada to commemorate the construction of the Cariboo Road. What a place to start our journey, eh? However, a sign nearby drew my attention. Apparently, Yale was not welcoming visitors at the time of my visit.
Yeah, so this is the map of Yale. Unfortunately, they're closed for visitors, so this is, as far as we can go during this trip. A lot of communities across BC, they have lots of limitations because living here is harder to get healthcare, it's harder to get, essential services. So yeah, and if you're traveling around British Columbia and Canada, and actually if you're traveling everywhere in the world, please respect the local regulations on whether you're allowed to visit or not.
That made our Yale visit short and sweet. Hey, at least I'm able to make it here this time without having to do a detour. Following Highway 1, we reached Tuckkwiowhum Heritage Village. There are many interpretive villages like the ones we saw in Yukon, scattered around British Columbia. Tuckkwiowhum Village showcases the culture and traditional lifestyle of the Nlaka'pamux people. Around the Heritage Village, you see buildings and tools used by the Nlaka'pamux people prior to the arrival of European settlers. While some buildings, like this food storage shelter, are still being used in places like remote campgrounds and hunting ranges. Some other buildings certainly showcase the wisdom of the local First Nations people as they use resources and terrains in the surrounding area to their advantages and made solid shelters where they could spend the winter comfortably. While at the village, I could already see the dense wildfire smoke hovering in the background. Continue north on Highway 1. The smoke was getting thicker and thicker.
Yeah, so we're once again in wildfire country, and as you can see, the visibility is really poor. It's still very poor because there's still a lot of forest fires going on right now. Yeah, by the way, like I explained in the previous episode, that wearing a regular mask definitely helps you to breathe when the smoke is thick, because whenever there's a forest fire, the PM 2.5 particles, they're in the air. So if you breathe it, it's gonna cause infection to your respiratory system. I've had an experience in Siberia before. I got really sick. If I knew that wearing a mask would help, I would have definitely brought one to that trip.
Then we entered the jurisdiction of Lytton. On June 29, 2021, Lytton broke the record and officially became the hottest place in Canada at 49.5 degrees Celsius, or 121 degrees Fahrenheit. Just one day later, on June 30th, a fire suspected to be caused by humans broke out in the nearby forest, and later by Canada Day long weekend, all of its surrounding residents were evacuated. Lytton, once a historic town on the Cariboo Road, was completely destroyed by wildfire during that event. It was home to a Chinese museum that kept artifacts of early Chinese gold rushers in the area. Most importantly, it was also the hometown of many. Now, everything was gone because of that fire, including the lives of 2 seniors who couldn't escape this atrocity.
Yeah, folks, so right now I'm at the entrance to Lytton BC. So looks like the police have sealed the entrance to the town, so we couldn't get in. But the landscape around the town pretty much gave away what happened a while ago. Lytton broke the record and became the hottest place in Canada. Only days later, this town was destroyed by a wildfire. So yeah, I guess that's it for our stopover in Lytton. Again, my heart goes to the people who had to flee their homes because of this tragic event. I think what's important right now is to make sure that the people are okay and the town will be ready for reconstruction. So that's the most important thing. The most important thing here is not about filming about the city after the fire, but again, the most important thing is for those who are victims of such horrendous event to be safe and to be okay.
On that day, I didn't have to go to the actual town of Lytton to imagine what happened. When most other Canadians were busy either celebrating Canada Day or not celebrating Canada Day as a way to acknowledge the systematic genocide of Indigenous children by the Canadian government in the past. As we continued driving away from Lytton, I suddenly saw an entrance that allowed me to pull into the site of a former whitewater rafting business.
Yeah, despite the fact that we couldn't get into the actual town, but this area should give us a good idea of what the fire did, to the city and the surrounding area. You can tell the fire is still burning, but in a different area because the smoke is really heavy. Actually, the smoke here is heavier than when I was at the highway near Lytton Town Center, just a couple minutes ago.
Did you notice a fallen tree behind me? Upon checking, I realized that the reason why it fell was because the fire was burning in low ground, which carbonized the lower trunk and made the trunk to lose the ability to support the weight of the entire tree. Another fallen tree nearby was even worse. The fire burned through the lower trunk and caused the tree to collapse. I could tell it used to be a forest here, as there were signs that some smaller trees were chopped and removed from the site, possibly by the whitewater rafting business. What about the trees that are still standing? If you touch the trunk, you realize that the tree barks just became plain charcoal. Interestingly, signs of nature's comeback could already be seen at the very same place where the catastrophic fire blew through just 4 weeks ago.
Even though the fire destroyed everything, but as you can see, new life has already started on the ruins of a disaster. I hope people's lives can also start like those new life that came after the horrendous fire.
Lytton is a reminder of how fragile human beings are when exposed to climate change. Most of the people in British Columbia were shocked to see how a historic town got turned into a ruin hours after it became the record holder of Canada's hottest place. I'd love to see what this area will be like once it's being rebuilt. But for now, let's say goodbye to Lytton. Our Cariboo Road adventure continues. What will happen next? Follow me to the next episode.
This is where the dead workers laid to rest.